I'm Shannon Baldioli, an educator at the National Air and Space Museum. While girls often make up at least half of the K-8 STEM classroom, fewer and fewer girls and women are represented in STEM as they go to high school, college, and on into the professional world. Today, we are going to talk about some issues to combat in keeping girls engaged in STEM. While there are many challenges facing girls and women in STEM, there are 4 major barriers that we work to break down in our work at the museum: gender stereotyping and biases, inflexible education settings, fixed mindset, and erasure. To talk a little more about each of those challenges, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Lundgren, education specialist, and Emily Margolis, curator of American Women's History at the National Air and Space Museum and the Smithsonian's Astrophysical Observatory.
Hi, I'm Becca.
And I'm Emily.
We wanted to share some quick tips for engaging women and girls in STEM. People with fixed mindsets see challenges as obstacles and intelligence as an inherent ability or talent. The opposite, people with growth mindsets, see challenges as opportunities to grow and intelligence as malleable. Cultivating a growth mindset can help women and girls build confidence and learn more. To combat fixed mindsets, praise learners for their efforts and discuss how intelligence is a skill that you can build with time and effort.
Harmful stereotypes falsely correlate gender, race, class, ability, and other identities to STEM skills. These biases are reinforced through subtle and overt messaging in the marketing of children's toys, to depictions of scientists in popular culture, to implicit bias in the classroom. Representation matters. You can combat stereotypes by highlighting stories of diverse STEM workers. Role models offer compelling counterexamples to harmful and false ideas about who belongs in STEM.
Some educational settings are too restricted and too scripted, so much so that there's no exploration, time for reflection, or questions. This can cause learners, especially girls and women, to feel discouraged and decreases participation. Flexible education settings can increase participation and knowledge retention, especially for girls. To combat inflexible education settings, you can cultivate a collaborative working environment, avoid saying no and teasing, and give learners time to think.
Women have always been a part of the STEM story, but structural inequality, a system of unequal opportunities and rewards based on people's identities, not their abilities, has complicated women's access to STEM education and STEM jobs throughout history. Yet women have persisted, working as assistants, technicians, computers, and even volunteers when policies and practices closed off other avenues of participation. Because of their status, as well as who chooses to write or not write their history, many women have been erased from the historical record. You can combat erasure in your classroom by recognizing women's historical contributions to STEM. That means highlighting work that may have been overlooked because of its low status. For example, the work of hidden figure Katherine Johnson. Though she labored under the title of computer, her work required all of the skill and expertise of a mathematician and engineer.
Empowering and uplifting all girls in your classroom can seem like a daunting challenge, especially if you're only with them for a short time each week. However, making small changes like the ones we just discussed can have a huge impact in empowering women and girls to reach for their goals and, if they choose, to see a future for themselves in STEM.